Bing bong. Might as well see if this is working. Let's see what we have going on here. Test, test, 1, 2, 1, 2. Do we have audio? Test, 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 1, 2. I don't hear anything. Oh, I might explain this. Alright, so we seem to be working. Okay, good. So, hey, what's up? This is Dave, and I am streaming day 4 of my live streaming experiment. Let me turn off this volume. There we go. And I've been trying to do the live streaming every morning. It's now 3 p.m. I was up really late last night, trying to solve a programming problem, which I'll show it to you in a second. So, because I went to sleep late, I woke up late. Because I woke up late, now it's dark outside already. And this is exactly the reason why I wanted to start waking up early in the morning. Because when you wake up too late in the day, then it feels like I've wasted the day. And then it's dark, and the dark affects me. I don't like it. So if I can get up like at 5 or 6 in the morning, that would be, even though I'm a night person, if I can get up 5 or 6 in the morning, then I could probably get the bulk of my difficult work done by noon or something like that. And then the rest of the day, I can just kind of go about and do whatever I feel like. I'll have taken care of my basic responsibilities, and then I can do other things like, doing streams or writing essays, or well, the bazillion things that I would like to be getting done. So we're gonna do another hour of live stream stuff, and I will switch to the regular chat mode and share some of the things I've been doing. Let me switch this window over here. So I'll say let me just type in the chat window. Live streaming late, an hour of getting organized for the remains of the day. Hopefully that appears in the chat window. I'll believe it when I see it. It's taking its own sweet time. Yeah, there it goes. Okay. So, what have I been working on? I should probably move this camera, I think, over here, because I have a tendency to look on this side. Let me put this here and see if that helps me with my stream setup. Yeah, I think that seems a little bit better. Let me nudge it down a little bit. So one thing I did today was I spent a bunch of time fixing my stream setup. Let's see if you haven't seen it before. Here's the auxiliary camera. Right now I'm using another one of these Logitech webcams. If I go into split screen mode and point this, not that direction, but over there. This camera versus this camera. These are both Logitech C920s. Not the greatest camera, but you know what? They're cheap, and I can use 2 of them on my Mac at the same time. Thankfully, because I have this box down here. I don't know if you can see it. This gray box over here. This is a Thunderbolt 2 to USB hub connector. And unlike other USB hub connectors, or whatever you call them, each USB port has its own controller. And what that means is it can do the full bandwidth for USB 2.0, and it's identified as a separate controller. There's no conflicts between high bandwidth devices like these web cameras. It's something that I think they use in motion tracking setups that are connecting multiple cameras to a single laptop. You need a separate bus controller for each camera, basically. And most of the time, one bus controller is connecting to 4 or more hubs, and so that's where you get these power management issues and so forth. So ordinarily, I use this other camera. Let me go get it. Or more recently, I should say, I've been trying out this this camera here, which is just a Canon. What is this? A Vixia HR800, which has a clean HDMI output, and that I can bring into the computer using something called a UTAPI something. It essentially converts an HDMI HDMI output into a webcam input, so I can connect to it remotely. Right now, I have it feeding from my PC over here. So, like right now, I'm looking for stuff on Amazon. So if I wanted to share that screen, or if I'm playing a game, since this is an HDMI output, I have this mirrored to, I have my desktop mirrored, so it's appearing on the screen, and it's also coming into OBS here on my Mac. So I think if I set this up right, if I click this, now that's the PC screen. And you can't tell because, alright, so now I have the PC screen is the main screen here. And these are the webcams, 2 webcams running, so I have 3 inputs going. One of them is from a separate computer, and it's pretty fast. There's no lag on it. Or there's not very, very little lag. It's maybe 30 or 40 milliseconds. Maybe 100 milliseconds. Tenth of a second. So that's when I was playing the game yesterday. That's what I could flip around back and forth to it. But if I want to share my regular Macintosh desktop, I can press this button, and you can see the stuff that I've been working on. Here I was doing some stuff in the virtual co-working cafe. Someone asked me a question about how I set up my accountability. So where was it? So this room, the accountability room. Like, how do I format, this stuff over here to make it look nice? And I haven't done any work today. Let's see what's going on in the chat. I should tell people that I'm streaming. Started streaming the late start to my day. sdavidsay.com live should take you there. But anyway. So what else am I doing? So one thing I worked on yesterday was this code. Oh wait, I want to talk about, I just fixed a whole bunch of stuff with my streaming setup, so let me share that too. So let me go to the screens, and here's OBS. I'm sharing this screen over here. If I adjust this camera, you can see it. So this is the off-screen laptop. This is the screen that's actually the one here. It's over on the left. That screen is this thing here. And what I have done is I just set up all my pointy things so they work correctly. So over here we have, this is a cheap MIDI keyboard. It's like a $50 MIDI keyboard that I'm running through a piece of software called ControllerMate, which is this software. Now I can't see what I'm doing. But essentially what this allows you to do is not only does it allow you to control the response curves of mice, you can take MIDI messages, this is a MIDI keyboard, and then have them convert them into keyboard presses. And you can script it, so like I have the scripts over here. What these are doing is OBS, this is a set I call OBS, an AppleScript building block, and what happens is it detects a key press on the MIDI keyboard, and what else is it? OBS has to be running. Keyboard has to be, that keyboard has to happen, and they both run into this AND thing. If both those conditions are true, it will bring OBS to the foreground, and it will send it Shift Control Option F2, which I have mapped to, if I go to my settings here, I don't know if this is a bad idea or not. If I go to my hotkeys, I have hotkeys set up for each of these various scenes, like chat from AuxCam, etc. So ordinarily you can just switch them by this, so I'm losing myself. So that's the me view. This is the, we can't actually see what I'm doing, can you? What's the best way to do this? I actually can't switch and show this at the same time. But what I've set up were a few new things. So I'm pressing this button here. Let me move this camera so you can see. One nice thing about the other camera is it has a zoom on it, which is nice. Hey, Fed. Nice to catch you. How are you doing today? I'm starting super late. So here's my MIDI keyboard. You can see that. If I press this button here, it switches the camera view. So now that's the aux camera. And if I press this one that says SCR on it, it's screen. That means it will show my screen, which will show OBS or whatever it happens to be on my secondary 1920 by 1080 monitor. Let's see. Is there anything cool in this monitor? Let me just flip this over. Not really. Yeah, we can. So I press screen over here. It switches the screen. So these are the main views that I'm using that shows me the chat window because I have a chance of actually seeing what's happening. Federico says, doing great. Love the idea of using a MIDI keyboard for easy streaming functions without the hassle of going to the keyboard. Yeah, it's super cool. It ends up being a little bit more. Well, I'm not sure. There's this thing called the Elgato Stream Deck, which has a little OLED display. But it's $150. This was $50, and didn't feel bad about like just labeling it with all these things there, so I could customize it to my layout. And it's a MIDI keyboard, so I guess if I wanted to do things on it, I could do MIDI things. But I have other keyboards for that. So I added a few new scenes. So there's, let me just go through them. I fixed my split camera views. So you can see that this is the main view. And then this is the aux camera view, which is this camera here. You can see it to the left of my head. And this is a split view. So if I want to show both of them larger at the same time. One thing I also do is I up the resolution of both cameras. So instead of running at 1280 by 720, they're now running at 1920 by 1080, full HD, which should theoretically result in a clearer stream, but it doubles the CPU workload. Right now it's at 24%, which doesn't leave very much to do any actual coding work. So I don't know. I might be in the market for a more powerful computer now. This is a 2013 model. They're not all that much more powerful, but they might have better I/O. We'll see. So that's this one, and then there's this one that focuses more on the aux cam view. So like if I'm doing something like, I was thinking actually about like repainting these nails to see how that would work on camera. Because like I put this one really close, I might actually see it better than if I try to use my eyes because I'm super like nearsighted. Then these regular, we were just going through these are the same. There are also the full size ones when I don't want to show the chat windows. Then some new ones are these two over here. These are screen plus cam and screen plus aux. Screen plus cam is this. So I'm cam. I guess it used to be the other side. That's the screen. And one thing I changed is like the way that I'm shaping these windows and cropping them. Before I was doing some half-assed nudging pixels and sizing things, but now I'm using bounding boxes and I'm aligning them properly, so it's easy to move them relatively to each other, which means it's easier now to copy and paste this same layout to other screens that are using different sources but the same layout, which is nice. So this is the other one. This is screen plus aux. So it's mostly the screen and that's the aux cam. This is useful, I've found, when I'm taking notes on something, so I might point this camera down a little bit more. One nice thing about this webcam also is it's much less heavy, so I don't have to tighten the stand as much. It has better quality, but you know, this setup is a little more versatile. So I could have a notepad here, and then you could see what I was doing in the notepad and the screen at the same time. So that's useful when I've been doing some design stuff. Lastly, I think I fixed my NDI sources. So over here, let's look at this keyboard again. So over here, it's not focusing. Is it too close? Maybe it is. Or it's not in the center of the screen. So over here, this is the NDI section. NDI is a what's it called? Network digital interface. It's a video interface over the network. So usually you're plugging your HDMI cable from one box to another box using a physical cable. NDI is a network version of it. So you use Ethernet, an IP. It's video over IP basically. So instead of like plugging a whole bunch of cables into a switcher, kind of like what I'm doing with all these various sources, you can do it all over a high-speed internet connection. If you have a fast local area network, you could have all of your sources on the network and then switch back and forth between them. I actually have my iPhone set up so it check. So I can stream from it directly into here. But sometimes I don't want that, and I've now set up the auxiliary camera to be pulling from the PC. So I have a mirrored setup here. So this is the full PC view or NDI. Right now I have the NDI monitor turned off. All that stuff has changed recently too. NDI monitor is a program that will show any NDI source that's available on the network. This is the same version plus chat. This is one of the split screen views, and I copied this layout, the split screen layouts transference from the other one, so they're all consistent now. It's awesome. Yeah. Federico asks, how is the MIDI keyboard being held on the MacBook? This is let me show you. This is. Let me pull the camera back so you can see everything. Thank goodness I'm using the wireless microphone. Let's get some light in here. So I have my entire computer set up on this cart. And I need to undiddle this. This is a 30-foot USB 2 powered extension cable, so I can move this camera way back. I don't know if you can see that, guys, but everything's kind of crooked now, too. Oops, this thing's falling off. Let me fix this. All right. Sorry for I hope it's not getting seasick. There. All right, so this is the setup. Let me pull some of these cables back. I'm behind this cart thing, and I think I can spin the whole thing around. Oh, why is my...
Heads up, there's smoke upstairs.
There is no smoke upstairs.
The alarm is loud.
Is there? Checking on a false alarm on my... I don't smell anything. Nope. It's mysterious. So anyway, I don't know if you're still there. Fed. How's the MIDI keyboard being held up? So I have this entire computer on a cart. And on this cart are monitor arms. This is a... I'll show this from the back. So this cart's on wheels. It's compact. It has all my gear on it. You can see all the stuff down here. This is a box full of power connectors. This is the mixer. These are some headphone distribution amplifiers for when we're doing podcasts. Bunch of arms. The camera is on an arm that's cobbled together out of various camera magic arms, clamps. But you can see the monitor arms are clamped. So the one monitor's on this, and the laptop is sitting on another one over here, and it's on this dual arm setup. I can move the entire cart to different parts of the house, like except upstairs, of course, because it's on wheels and everything just plugs into one thing. So the cart itself wasn't that expensive. It was like $100 US. So yeah, and so the MIDI keyboard is just sitting on top of the laptop, basically. That's all it is. And there's all this cable sitting here. So when I unplug everything and go to Starbucks, I just bring the laptop with me. But everything else is just plugged in like that. Yeah. So how's it not falling? If you look over here. You can see that there's actually these hook arms here. Yeah, this whole thing is holding it on. Let's call them hooks, laptop hooks, retaining dinguses. ThingsWorks. I have this problem. Like I don't know if you guys have this problem. Like when I can't think of the name of something, I keep using the word thing, and I know it's like a placeholder word, but I feel so stupid every time I use it. Um, I don't know how to fix this problem. Yeah. Maybe if I just owned it. It says, yeah, you need just put it on that thingamajig. Yeah, like Fed's saying. Wrap it up in a dingle hopper. I wonder if that would be charming or annoying. Hmm. I don't know. So anyway, so there's my impromptu tour of, of my computer setup. I can move the whole thing around like this on the wheels, which is cool. I don't know if you can see that in this other corner. So I can actually position this if I feel like in a different place. It's relatively easy to move everything up. And I can also angle this when there is the need to like the sun behind me. Right now it's fairly dark now. I think I just re-angled everything so it's not as affected. But usually I try to have something more interesting in the background. But this works. I think this works. Anyway, so what else have I been working on? It's 3:26. I guess I'm treating this live stream just as a get my head together thing. Get a chance to talk through stuff I'm working on. This is an experiment, trying to figure out if I can work streams back into my daily routine. As it is, I find that they take too much of my time. It's been interesting to think like how little time I actually have to do things because everything seems to take at least an hour or two, and then the context switch, getting back to an entirely new thing to do, can be tedious. One thing I've been trying to do is release my negative feelings about having to switch tasks. You know, for example, like if I'm in a bad mood, like okay, I've just tried to fix doing this code stuff, which I'll go into in a second, and I've had to do things which I regarded as being the result of someone else's poor design or planning, and I had to pay for it. And shouldn't this be better? Does no one care? How do people put up with this state of things? Then the idea of going and doing the laundry seems like impossible. Fed is saying, it's a nightmare, Dave. It's like every day I find out how little time I have to do things. I never align my expectations. Yeah, I'm always surprised by it too. It sucks. I don't know what the deal is with it. But I don't think there's a way around it, is there? Is there a way around it? Guys, is there a way around this? I mean, we should have a session. We just brainstorm this thing. I can hook in the Discord chat room, and we can you have a live conversation on this, and then see if we can figure this out for once and for all. It's an ongoing problem. Maybe I should just address this every day when I am doing the streams. 15 minutes of me talking about some topic, and maybe together we can figure out something, or at least realize that we're not so alone facing these issues. Context switching, it's much I've been trying to learn how to context switch. And if you don't know what I mean by context switching, it's let's say you have to do something like let's use a physical analogy. Let's say you're cooking a chicken. If you're going to cook a chicken, you're going to clean the chicken, you're going to trim many nasty things off the chicken. You need to dry the chicken. You need to preheat the oven. You need to prepare a roasting pan. If you're gonna put herbs and stuff on the outside of the chicken, you're gonna rub it. If you were thinking ahead, you brine the chicken. Although personally, I don't like brining. I don't like what it does to the texture. Then you're gonna clear the kitchen. You gotta make sure that there's nothing out there, so you don't get chicken stuff on it and then get killed by salmonella. If there's fixins that go with the chicken, it's this big long process, right? For me, it generally takes up most of the kitchen. But then, let's say, you realize, oh, I need to make lunch for tomorrow before I start this chicken, and everything is out there. And there's no room for anything, so you need to move everything aside, and that's a pain in the butt. Either you bundle it up tediously on top of other things, and you accidentally knock it down. It's just everything is in the way. It's annoying. And then if you add a third thing on top of that, it's awful. And then everything kind of falls apart, and it gets angry. So that's the context switch part of it is removing everything around so you can do the other thing. or it's difficult enough. Like let's say after you get the chicken in the oven, then you've got to clean up everything else before you can even go to the next stage of things. There's that feels like a chore to me. Um, One thing that helps is if you're cooking something else, at least you're kind of in the cooking mode. Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's different for every people, like as Fed is saying. In his case, it's more of a mental thing than a physical thing. Well, rather, I'm more accepting of the physical costs of changing context. Yeah, I was using the chicken thing as a physical example of a mental thing. Or is that true? Am I really thinking about that correctly? One of the when I think of a tedious task, I think I'm conflating two things. Tedious tasks are things that never end. Like you're always continually doing laundry, you're always continually taking out the garbage. Those also have a kind of negative mental cost for me. And I have just tried to actually practice not having any feelings in those cases. Instead of giving energy to, or giving any kind of airtime to the negative thoughts like, oh, I had to take out the garbage again. Why is there always garbage? This sucks. Garbage should just disappear. The reason I don't like it is because I perceive this task as taking away from bigger tasks that I think are more important and possibly I'm stuck on or have procrastinated on. And so it's like it's an amplification of two negative things. And I'm sort of taking it out on the task. The other difficult context switching thing is if I'm programming, I mean, I'm looking at something like this. Do you really want to look at that? I don't. And this is something that's not supposed to happen. So somewhere in here, most of this is probably junk, but I had to scroll past it to find the beginning of this. There's probably tools I can write to make this easier, but I even have to write a tool is a pain in the butt. This is an error in this long-ass path. Does it need to be this long-ass? I have no idea what NoOp.js is doing. I'm using this thing called Bootstrap Loader because I Googled it, like, how do I add Bootstrap to a Webpack config? And this is what came up. And I'm starting to realize that this is probably not what I need at all. I think this is something that's used for people who are building custom Bootstrap configurations. But they called it Bootstrap Loader and they wanted hits, so they named it as generally as possible. And now I've wasted like a day on this. I need to go back to basics and do stuff. But I had to sort through all this stuff every few minutes to try to see somehow something like, let's see, this works. This is one part of a 5-part configuration file. And it's loading all these loaders here, which I have no idea what they do, but they tell me I need. Every time I add one, it creates a new cryptic error. So anyway, so I'm trying to keep track of all these things, and I actually had to have this note, keep notes about what I was doing. So I don't forget where my path was. This is context. This is context that are difficult to. I don't want to start another build system, but I will add that to my list. We're trying to. Hey Eric, I thought you were someone else. Parcel.js, is that great? Tell me about Parcel.js, or post a link to it. Anyway, this Webpack stuff, I'm trying not to draw the conclusion that it's. I don't even want to say it out loud, but I think it might be terrible. But everybody uses it. Conceptually, it's very powerful. And I think where I've gone astray, I'm kind of going off on a tangent. Where I've gone astray is assuming that there is a loader that solves all my problems, and I can Google it. I don't think that's how it works. What I need to do is say, Webpack is good at one thing. It's loading modules. It's good at parsing what's in them and creating a bundle. And that's all you should use it for. Everything else it does through the plugin ecosystem is probably very specialized, terribly documented, and it's going to take you a day to sort out like what parts of it you actually need. I mean, going back to basic web development principles, like I'm loading CSS at some point and I'm loading JavaScript at some point from my HTML page. Let's work backwards or forwards from there. All right, this parcels.org. I've just spent 5 weeks figuring out this Webpack workflow, and maybe I should follow the whole sunk cost fallacy of things. But if I can get this to work or understand it pretty well, oops. Blazing fast zero configuration web application builder. I automatically distrust this type of text because This is what the Webpack site did too. You know, it promised all these great things. So you talk to people at Webpack, it solves all these problems once you figure out actually how it works. And I'm the kind of person who likes to boot trace through all my code to see exactly what's running when. Well, let's take a look at this. Hello world. So it loads an index. Here's index loads from main. It imports classes from main. So this is the import syntax. 9 seconds. Huh. No, it's intriguing. I will look at this. Thank you, Eric, for mentioning this. I'll add it to my list of things to look at after I get this part done. Once I get this whole Electron Webpack auto-compiling packaging thing working, then I can actually get to actually porting our actual code back into this new environment. And maybe I'll look at this for the next one. The reason I'm going with Webpack in the first place is that everyone talks about using it. And I've always used other tools that have like kind of sat with me better. Like before Webpack, I was using Brunch. You know, I used Brunch for one project because I liked how that set up pretty quickly and seemed relatively clear. What I didn't like is it didn't have, I guess that's the tree shaking thing. Before Brunch, we were using Require.js, and what I liked about Require.js is it just loaded straight JavaScript files in an order you could predict. Difficult to debug, without getting into the source code. But once you had all that stuff up, and if you weren't worried about time-critical stuff, which we're not, it was fine. I could never get the bundle. You could never get it to package anything, to optimize anything. But back then, I was not as I guess, experienced in looking at build systems and knowing kind of what pitfalls to expect. Anyway, this is all context. The moment I need to switch to marketing, going back to the original concept, now when I had to think about marketing things, and I had to think about appealing to stuff with other people. I mean, I have all these, actually this task is going to be late if I don't finish it on Friday. Stationary business stuff. This is a whole nother context. I have to write the simple hook updates, second draft. So then we can get stuff ready for December 1st, which is, well, I'm not going to meet December 1st now. Where is this? Okay, these are specifics. I think Brenda must have added these. Yeah, okay. Brenda is the person that I hired to help me out with this. And, so, I guess that's a way of having someone else hold context for me. Helps driving it. But I'm going to have to forget all this coding stuff. Switch to thinking about marketing and website stuff and my own things. And I can't do it very often. I can do it maybe once a day. And after I do that, my brain can only do very simple things. This is when I can do physical things like cook a chicken, clean the house and stuff like that. So trying to do the difficult forging through uncertainty work, synthesis work, I had to do that when I'm fresh first thing in the morning. And if I can do that around 6 a.m. and get like a chunk of, 4 hours of good deep thinking work done, that pretty much is what I have available to expend. And it's very depressing how little time that is. There's other people apparently who can just go 12 hours straight doing this. Although I wonder at the quality of their work. I'm sure there are exceptional people who can do that. Parcel's defrying a chicken. I like that idea. Huh. All right. I am intrigued. And plus, there's all these other distractions. Like, there's always news technology. There's always news. There's terrible things that are happening. There's good things that are happening. There are friends who you want to talk to and you want to be present listening to their problems or helping them out with things. Those are all context switches. I find that, for me, managing how I deal with uncertainty and how I convert uncertainty into certainty in a way that is measurable progress that builds up assets that I can reuse or use to build other things. It's like I've made the analogy with when you're playing a game that has like a tech tree in it. Like you start at level 1 and you have your level 1 hammer, and then if you want to make it a hammer of fire, you need to do things to first you need to get some sort of fire core or something like this. Then you got to kill 1,000 like fire things, and then that levels up the hammer. And once you have the leveled up fire hammer, that opens up a whole nother thing. Now that you have fire, you can make I don't know. You use the fire to make a steel thing or something like this. Let's see. Oh, there's a message that's held for review. I've never seen that before. Let's show it. Side note. iTunes, Applecom, CA. Trello, organize everything. Is this an app version of this now? That's interesting. Why are you putting the link in? What do they do? Does they make in a dedicated workspace? Right. Okay, I see what. Maybe that's why. Yeah. So I just have it in the browser window here. I have bookmarks. So from one project, one context switching strategy I have is I have all these bookmarks set up here in my bookmark bar. So these are for the active projects. So Groundhog Day resolutions. This is my main Groundhog Day resolutions post. So which it has all my goals and various changes for that. I have the various stream related things so I can pull up, just open them fast. Stationary business stuff, specific project posts. This is one of the logs I get to use to keep track of like what I've been learning this year, things that are worth remembering. Yeah, and then on top of that, I'm using Alfred. So like if I need to actually load complex project, so let's say I want to go, let's see, load my knowledge management tools.
Getting KMSSG.
This will load all the necessary files and folder structures for it, so I can have everything in place. So that's one strategy I've used for trying to manage context. I'm not one of those people who keeps like a bazillion browser tabs open. Usually I close them off because I grew up in the 80s and microcomputers didn't have a lot of memory, and we tried to save memory by skimping on the number of things we had open. I don't know if it's useful anymore. But there's a number of different shortcuts I'd set up using like this custom script I did. Opening various folders, web environments, because that kind of stuff, that kind of friction, like just slows me down. If I had to remember how to do something, I don't know if you guys, what do you guys use for managing your context? I think earlier we were talking about the nightmare of having so little time to do things. Like if I have 4 hours of good, fresh time to do something, and I spend those 4 hours learning how to do something, like make this go away, and that doesn't feel very good. I mean, it's great if like when everything just works together. If I had a project that could work with some standard boilerplate, or someone else had set it up for me, then I could actually get to work on doing the thing that I actually want to do, instead of like week after week of clawing through uncertainty and just making sure it works and taking the notes to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And then so I can also, like any other developers I'm working with, so this is what I did, this is why I did it. Here is like a summary of how it works. Here are some gotchas. It's like Google is almost useless for finding this stuff quickly anymore. Especially since Google has disabled verbatim search as a default. And so it's just pulling up things that thinks that you might be interested in, and generally it's pulling up things that I think that are popular, that just happen to have that keyword that you're using mentioned as much as possible. And it's usually not specific enough. What it comes down to is you need to go to original sources now. It's like we've come full circle. Well, Google has hit the point that every single prior search engine to it has hit, in which it starts returning garbage results. But I think one thing that saves it now is that they have an advertising model there that allows them to continue to do this, whereas other search engines like Inktomi and AltaVista and what was before that? I don't even remember. Um, I guess Yahoo was that. um, you can't type in a result into Google and expect it to tell you anything useful. It'll always pull up the documentation page for whatever you're looking at. The documentation page is hit or miss about really teaching you what you need to know. And it becomes really, again, you're back to square one learning situation. And a back to square one learning situation means you're not going to get the thing you want to get done in 4 hours, even though conceptually it was as simple as, I want to load this library. That should take, in my mind, 30 seconds. And it will take 30 seconds after I've put 5 weeks into figuring out this Webpack configuration and why it never works. So, anyway, Fed is saying, one of the main tricks that he uses to make the slog through uncertainty better is he tries to be super hardcore GTT about it. That's very interesting. So, what does it mean to be super hardcore GTD? Every time I notice something new to deal with, I turn it into a sub-project with a clear goal of what is the result I want. I inbox my thought and how to progress, etc. Yeah. So, yeah, okay. Yeah. I guess I do a sort of soft version of that. I guess one thing that also contributes to this is really more of a negative reaction thing. But every time I have to go out of my way to learn something new that I didn't want to learn, I have a really poor attitude about that. So I had to get it out, and then eventually I go and I start running down. I actually just kind of journal it, and until I get clarity of my thoughts, and then the journal then becomes something that I put in a to-do list of some kind. I keep mine in my dev log here. Fed adds, I also try to share this with clients so they know how the project keeps growing. Yep. Yeah, you have to fight your own preconceptions that you can just plan a project right from the start. Yeah, this is true. There is so much uncertainty fraught with things. For me, I think instead of going into process, which I think is a great idea, don't get me wrong, is I've been working more on the emotional side of it. I've been trying to tell myself that this negative reaction I have to things is not doing me any good. And if I sit back and objectively look at it, being angry at it isn't doing me no good at all. If I was chill, one of my big hang-ups is I'm always concerned that I'm not competent enough to do something, which is, I think, and really what comes down, everyone's competent enough to do something. It just might take longer for some people than others, depending on their life experience and, maybe natural capacity for things. I have a very small working memory. So small. I can remember maybe 2 things for about 3 seconds before it flies right out of my head. I had to write it down. Can't hold anything on. Yeah, so Fed says, so it turns out that the doing a project, the discovering what one had to do, making it projects means I had to prioritize them in my review. Yep. So I've been, we're going under very parallel paths, Fed. It's interesting to compare. I think like you, I realize that I'm trying to give myself not to have those anxious and fearful thoughts. And now that I've identified uncertainty as the bugaboo, it says, oh, that's just uncertainty. I can deal with uncertainty. It's just, it's merely a sensation of not knowing. I can overcome this. So I guess laughing at it helps a bit. But then the practical nuts and bolts of managing a project or projects that are growing. That's where I maintain my backlog when I borrow from agile methodologies. Is I have a backlog of things that I eventually need to deal with, and that backlog can become a source of anxiety too. I get a feeling that I'm behind, or that I don't have time to do anything else that's for me. So the balancing of things that I do for myself versus things that I do for work. That's sort of the thing I guess I've been focusing on a lot this past month. The whole idea of having 4 good hours in the morning to do the the deep concentrated work, and that's about it. And that's me acknowledging that if I try to do anything more of that, it's not going to come out well, or I'm going to be drained, or it's going to flatten me out for like much more time after. The downtime afterwards will negate and overwhelm any positive progress I made from like doing an all-nighter, for example. If I do an all-nighter, I'm pretty much unable to do anything really useful for the next 3 days. And I know this from having like logged how I was doing things and the difficulty with which I did it. At the same time, I'm just super impatient. Like, this Webpack stuff is ridiculous. But now that I've kind of grokked in what way I think it's ridiculous, now I can start to work around it. And those insights may lead to an interesting blog post someday. And I'll be able to save some people some time, like particularly on my dev team. We have a dev team of two, but then we have other people who have to use our code. So it's nice to be able to explain how it works instead of like, I may use the boilerplate. It worked with the boilerplate. Like, audio cut out. Let's move to. Okay, I'm going to the backup microphone here. I guess those batteries just ran out on this. I just replaced them, so just I have a little bit more noise on it. Let me switch these batteries. Anyway, it's a good check for. I've just been rambling on about things, but it's kind of fun to talk about this stuff. Again, this is an experiment. Let's see. So hopefully you guys are hearing the audio again. Put these in the batteries. I've moved the microphone over here on the other side so it's not as close to the laptop, which is burning up from doing this compression stuff and streaming at the same time. Oh, thanks for confirming that, Eric. I wish there's a better way of monitoring this. If OBS had a plugin that had a low audio input warning level, that would be great. I wonder if someone makes that. And so I'm trying very hard not to make that into another project to put on my list of things to do. There's so many things that I think that I'd love to be able to make better that I think I have the capacity to do it. But I don't think I ever really learned to accept just how long it takes to do something. A lot of the things that I've done in my life have been relatively easy for me to pick up, but I always stop short of doing the things that were relatively difficult. For example, I can draw passably well, but I never mastered illustration. I can hack together scripts and stuff, and I can write relatively small programs, but I've never architected like a complete system before. Because stuff like this would get me angry. I've never made a desktop app before because I found in the age pre-Google, it used to bother me how, back then I assumed I was stupid, but how poorly written a lot of technical manuals are. And it may be because I originally was going to be an English major, and the way that I read documentation is as a narrative. Whereas a lot of technical documentation, I think, is written really more as a confirmation of someone's pre-existing knowledge. And then it provides you, I think, the developer mindset. A successful developer who can do complicated things, they are more curious than me and they're more motivated than me to dig into making something work that didn't make sense in English, if that makes any sense at all. For example, most technical manuals, if you read them, they're technically correct. Every word in them is technically correct, except for typos. But then you get statements like, the Milner class is a type of Milner in their documentation. You should only apply Milner operations to it. And then you're looking at what is a Milner? And Milner manager manages Milners. Yeah, technically correct. Doesn't really help you learn anything. So good technical documentation, well, in my opinion, documentation that works for me, well, at least give me some sense of the model. It'll tell a story or metaphor or system that I can kind of grasp my head about. And it'll say, so like a milliner produces jackbots. A jackbot is a tasty treat enjoyed by all. Oh, tasty treats. What kind of tasty treat is it? Blah, blah, blah. I need that kind of detail to understand anything. Without it, I can't. So this is why I think I've had difficulty understanding like higher level math, like lots of code type stuff, because the systems themselves, I find it difficult to learn just from the documentation. One nice thing about the JavaScript environment that I'm finding is that when something doesn't make sense, I can actually look at the source code and see what it's actually doing and go, oh, that's what it's doing. I think I understand what it is. What it is. But anyway, Fed's running. So nice seeing you, Fed. I'll see you in the chat room. It's almost 4 o'clock here, so I'm going to wrap this up. Let's close this off with some looking at my code that doesn't work. All right, so where did I leave off yesterday? Trying to get Bootstrap CSS to load. And so I was playing around with this Bootstrap RC thing. And allegedly what this is a configuration file that's used by a Webpack a Webpack loader called Bootstrap Loader, which I read about when I Googled, how do I load Bootstrap in Webpack? Let's recreate this terrible chain of events. How to combine Webpack 4. Let's try this. Combine Webpack 4 with Bootstrap 4. And let's see if anything helpful comes from this. I haven't seen this one before. It's on SidePoint, which is okay. Tell Webpack 4 on how to find the configure the right way. Use Webpack 4 with Bootstrap 4. And so, like, I guess this is trying to do a nice job of explaining what things are, but I'm not sure if this is a level of explanation that helps any kind of developer. You don't need to say Webpack has become one of the most important tools for modern web development. No, thank you. It's primarily a module bundler. What is a module bundler, you might ask? There is a core set of web development principles that I think probably is referenced someplace, or I'll need to write my own version of it just so I know where all these things fit in. I think most people look at Webpack. Well, all right. I looked at Webpack. I can't speak for most people, obviously. They look at Webpack and they think like, oh, it's supposed to make my life easier, and it does. After you do a lot of hard work. Oh, this looks interesting. Webpack from first principles. How many entry points do I have in my Webpack config? I think currently I have 2. Well, it depends on which Webpack config I'm looking at. I have these configs here. For my Webpack base config, this is the setup that I used for... Well, this is where I might be going wrong. I don't think I'm using any of these loaders. I don't think I need Babel loader. The entry points are actually defined in my distribution and console configs. Because like I have an Electron app that I'm using Webpack to bundle, and I also have a web app that's served from an Express server that's launched by the Electron app, which is also being bundled by Webpack. So my entry files are... So here I'm trying to use Bootstrap Loader here as one, and using this ridiculous like property syntax thing. And then here's my any input. And I don't actually think I need to, what I think I need to do is just like screw Bootstrap Loader. Shouldn't I just be able to load the require the unprocessed CSS file out of the distribution folder? And so that's something I need to actually figure out how to do too. Like I actually haven't worked with CSS in modules before. Is that a requirement? Is that a best practice? Or should I just load it in the index.html file, like from a CDN? Actually, it has to be standalone, so load it, like make a copy of it, and then load it from my local file store. That would be easier. That's I think how I solved this problem last time. But I don't know. So let's see if this doesn't compile. So let's see, if I do npm run dev, which will run my webpack run script, what happens? I have a lot of errors turned off here. I wonder if there's a way to shorten all these names. So when I get this error in whatever the hell this string is, okay, it's running this. What is this? Is there something that formats these things more clear? Is this some source map? Wait, what the hell is this? Boilerplate node modules, post CSS loader, source, bang, users, this directory, resolve URL loader, bang. What is this? This is a chain of loaders? That doesn't look right. Is that right? That's so mysterious. The error is in it loading this string. I don't know what no-op.js does. And it has a query. It's appending some parameter. Source map. Bang. Styles loader. Boost. Okay, this is loading the style thing, which is loading a completely separate configuration file. I don't know if this is related at all to the configuration that's in Webpack. Styles. This is okay. This is actually the contents of that file. Yeah, I shortened it to see if anything would make a difference. I've set the config file path. Look, this is all stuff that's related to the bootstrap thing. And then the module build failed because it threw this error, which it didn't tell me what it was. Because, you know. So if I really want this bootstrap this, I might as well find out what... I think bootstrap loader is probably crap. That's my assumption. I know I'm saying that without any leg to stand on. And it's many fine people use this. Oops. Nope, that's actually the original kind of bootstrap loader. Oh, the cat just sneezed. I haven't really learned how to really understand a public repo yet. And I mean, like, I'm sure there are ways of going through this and like going through the history of this and going through the issues, going through the pull requests to kind of build an idea of like, you know, how has this been developed? What are some of the base strategies that they've used how did this thing come about? The history of it. Okay, this describes use bootstrap loaders, download. What does this do? All right. This looks like a hack around JavaScript. That looked like. Does this actually include anything? It just actually literally exports nothing. So I think this is relying on a side effect of... So when you're running that script, I'm going to remove this entry point and just see if this compiles. And then I'm going to see if I can load CSS directly into my web app. And then forget about Bootstrap Loader because I think it might just be a waste of time. Still failing the compiling. Because now it is saying I need an appropriate loader for loading this. So let me see. You can import your style from JavaScript, yeah. Let me remove all this Bootstrap Loader BS. I probably need to have this provide plugin stuff to insert the globals in, I think. I'm not sure, but where did I put this in? I'm also not quite sure where Bootstrap Loader is actually being inserted. I think it's... Well, no, I think I've probably messed that up with my base config. So my base config... Maybe I don't want this modules option. I'm not sure. I think, from what I understand, CSS modules is some sort of in-progress standard, but if I do that, I can't load normal CSS. But I don't know what they mean by not loading normal CSS because I don't know in what way they mean loading it. I guess that would be through Webpack. And Webpack, if there's any kind of CSS file that I'm loading, it should use one of these loaders. It could go through Sass loader, but I'm not using Sass if I'm loading distributed stuff, and I'm not planning on using Sass on this. I'm not sure what post CSS loader does. What does it do? So the order should be post CSS loader. Let's see if this compiles, or fails to compile, whatnot. And so it's, again, we're getting this parse error. It's loading the Bootstrap CSS unminified version. It's getting an untoken. I don't know where this error is happening or who's throwing this error. Module parse failed. This is directly from Bootstrap. And it is crapping out on this. This is a single selector, a pseudo selector. I don't know what these dash things are. What is this? So it happened in system init JSX, which is my loader. I'm trying to import it here. And Bootstrap doesn't like it. No. Okay. What does it mean? I don't know what's this. I must be misunderstanding something. Or when I removed it, was that a set? Import it in your main entry point. Oh, really? Oh, really? Wait a moment. So I can't import it here. I need to import it in my main input point here. And that will make all the difference. Does this have something to do with the way that the dependencies are parsed? Let's see what happens. And I still have the problem. It's happening now in... Is that not my index point? In my Webpack web-ack config, my entry point is set to webindex.js. This is running in this mode. I don't know if I have this set up correctly. Or is it a Webpack dev server? Oh, import it in the actual entry files? No, that doesn't make sense to me. Isn't an entry point the JavaScript main file from which Webpack starts searching through all the dependencies? Web index G? That's where I just put it in here. This is where I have the import. Is there another web index? It should be it. But I still get the same error. And this is cached somehow, but I don't think so. And so now it's saying unexpected. It's still giving me the same error here. Unexpected token. From this CSS, Bootstrap CSS. So is something wrong with my Webpack config still? So it's merging everything from base. Base is merged with that config. These are the ones I have going. Is there a way to execute a script to see when a rule is matching? Is it not matching something else? Is it because I'm excluding node modules? That might be it because no, it's not it. Okay, no post CSS. This is a different error. So I was excluding node modules thinking that I didn't want it to process it, but this is pure CSS, not Bootstrap BS. Where's Bootstrap being declared? That's a good question. I am importing it as a file. This is supposed to be pulling directly out of node modules, I believe. I think that's the Webpack way. Doesn't it? It has some awareness that node modules is a thing. That should be the only place. I mean, where I don't have it in my own source here. All I have is like my own stuff. There's no libraries or vendor files here at all. All right. Well, let me undo what I just did before. Let me undo this exclude. That was there before when it was crashing. Let's confirm. When I npm run dev, I'm going to get a bunch of errors, or an error. And the error is going to be I need this appropriate loader thing. Unexpected token here. You may need an appropriate loader for this file type. Node modules, bootstrap, disk, CSS, bootstrap, CSS. Now, if I comment this out, web index I'm assuming you mean. If I comment out the import, I'm expecting this to compile. So it compiled successfully. I should be able to connect to this. Of course, none of the bootstrap stuff is loading, so everything looks weird. This nav bar doesn't look like anything. So now having done that, let us uncomment that again. Run the build or recompile. See if this recompiles. We want to see the CSS loader rules. My CSS loader rules are here. This is what I just commented out before because I realized it was probably, since the dist file is in node modules, that means this rule will never apply to the CSS loader. So it will never transform. When I removed it, it seemed to work fine. Or it seemed to work with a different error, I should say. So over here, I'm getting the same error. Save this file. And so now the rule seems to be going. But now I have there's a no post CSS config found. We don't need that. Let's see if this works. No, yay, Bootstrap. So using Bootstrap loader, boilerplate. Thanks, Eric. So like, I guess the street smart thing was like, at some point I realized that Bootstrap loader probably wasn't going to be my answer, and then trying to get Bootstrap loader to run correctly, I couldn't even tell what Bootstrap loader was supposed to be doing. Like, I assumed, because I am a stupid Google monkey, that it would allow me to use Bootstrap in my Webpack project, which I guess technically is what it does. But not being well versed with how people use Bootstrap in their projects, I think that it is actually, if you're using the full Bootstrap environment in which you're making like a custom package, I guess, basically. Which is why you need Sass loaders and all that stuff for it, I guess. I don't really know. I can't really tell from the description. I mean, there's so many, I guess, shades of web development And I'm not in the shade where I'm just basically trying to build some prototype tools so learning scientists can see stuff on a website that they can control and not how to install their own web server. And we can log research data in a nice format and, use, leverage HTML5 to do stuff. Um, so, yeah, the solution is not to use Bootstrap Loader. The solution is not to trust the internet. The solution is to trust your understanding of how things are supposed to work. So, and I keep relearning this lesson over and over again 5 weeks ago. So now that this is working, I don't know what I'm doing now. I have to, my brain has been completely fried. Let me make it, but I will force myself. And I'm sure Federico will approve of this. Yeah, try parcel. I am tempted to. Because at this point, like every time I try to add a Webpack feature to add another thing it's another rabbit hole of looking through crappy documentation, mysterious, like, interlinked stuff. To try to finagle the configuration to point when it doesn't crash. The moment I try to change it, there's so much interdependency that's going on. Even though I'm trying to to make a sane version of these nested configuration things with this ridiculous merge format. The moment that it has to go out into the plugin ecosystem, I think they're screwed. It was like that with Gulp. It's like that with a lot of things, I think. Yeah. I don't know. It's like, I guess if I think of an analogy, maybe it's like, is it like, how you can get edible pizza everywhere. It's in the U.S. You can't go 2 miles in any kind of neighborhood without hitting some sort of pizza place. Maybe 3 or 4 of them, and they all ostensibly serve edible pizza. Webpack is like edible pizza. Webpack is kind of like a Big Mac or a Carl's Jr. Let's say it's like a Carl's Jr. And but it's not great. It's not great hamburger, or it's not great pizza. Webpack is like Domino's. You can order everything from Domino's. They have this convenient app that you can order online. They have all the toppings. They have coupons. Everyone knows Domino's. There's a Domino's every place. Webpack kind of feels like that to me, but it's not great pizza. Maybe Parcel is great pizza. Like, I'm hoping Parcel is like a Neapolitan pizza. And you go there, there's a crust. The crust is good. On the crust is a simple sauce. It's not too sweet. It's not loaded with a bazillion different toppings. It's sauce. It holds the other topping on top of it. And then it goes into an oven. The oven's job is to deliver 750 degrees of heat from all sides for 3 minutes. And at the end of it, you have a perfectly crisp bottom crust with a little bit of leopard spotting. On the top, you've got a little bit of leopard spotting. It comes out in under 3 minutes, and you eat it, and it's exactly what you expected. There's none of this none of the complications of using an app to order or figuring out what toppings and things like that, or you're trying to do a custom order of something. I mean, you want some pepperoni on it? You throw some pepperoni on it. You just say, I'm going to put pepperoni on it, and then it's there. That's what I want of my build tool. Now, then one has to have the notion of what it goes into a pizza. So for me, there's crust, there's sauce, there's 1 or 2 toppings. Then there's heat applied to it for long enough. The dough has to be hand stretched so gluten is formed to the point where it's puffy, but it's not doesn't poof out. Some things need to be done in kind, and you need to be able to verify that these things have happened. I think one thing I don't like about Webpack is it's very difficult to confirm anything has happened. The errors are fairly average, in which they say an error has occurred, but you're not quite sure where or when or why that's important, or why something like Node.js exists. And when you look at it, there's nothing in it that's just returning a file. I think another reason for using Webpack is because everyone else is using Webpack, and I wanted to see what it was all about. And maybe I've learned enough about it to know to avoid it at all costs. Um, so I think I will. Maybe I think later on I'm going to look at Parcel. First, I'm going to write up this development thing. The solution is not to use Bootstrap Loader uh, in Webpack because we are just using the distribution files for Bootstrap 4. We don't need all the other crap. I don't think. Instead, use Webpack. Its core feature. Maybe the core features are okay. To load CSS. I wonder what it's doing to load that CSS. Is it putting it in a giant string that's inserting it? You know what? I'm not going to care about it. Although I am curious now. We are doing the import in the first file. What happens if I move it back to where I had it? I mean, allegedly, I thought Webpack was supposed to work in all the modules. Every time I require a module or import a module here, it has to have gone through it at some point. System init is early enough in the chain that I think that system init is what actually does my React render. Will this not work? If this doesn't work, that will imply that there's more stuff to investigate. Yeah, let's see if it's still compiled. Type error. Cannot assign property exports to object. Module anonymous. Okay. So that confirms something. What does it confirm? Cannot assign this is a module loader thing. Cannot let property exports of object. Oh, is that because this is not a module, I guess, or it's so is there something truth so in your are imports in the entry point treated differently than everywhere else? Maybe that's what's going on here. This is like one if I'd been using require.js, something like that I think would have worked just because of the way it resolves its chain of things and because it's loading files directly. Webpack is for the builder. The builder is when I'm running my I think I understand that part. So my npm run scripts, I have it running dev server, which is implicitly running Webpack as middleware. I don't like this stuff either. And I'm passing on environment variables so I can try to make a distinction between my various build modes. But what I'm wondering is if the Webpack builder only does the module loading fanciness transformations if it's in the first one. Here I'm requiring a boot system init. And I'm requiring Babel polyfill. I'm not even sure if I need this. Sometimes I have it, sometimes I don't. I still have to note. I'm kind of curious. So I know this works. Let's confirm that. Oops. Let's confirm I didn't screw anything up. My web app dependency analysis starts with the entry point. So the web app dependency does not follow in other modules. So what I was thinking is like if I just move this down to system, where is it? To system init before I call it. That I'm guessing would load the object. Here in system init, was the error in Where was the error? Oh, that was it was in here. This is in React DOM. Async generator step. Systemnet line 60. It's calling render. Uncaught and promise. Target container is not. Oh, wait. This error means that it's probably trying to render into. It's an odd error. And I'm thinking it means. Oh, okay. Maybe I think this is happening because this CSS has to be loaded in the context of my main index HTML page. So if I'm not sure that's right. So I'm loading this system module, which is my bootstrap for my parts of the system. And it's adding hot module reload. And then it calls system init. System init. I haven't cleaned any of this up yet. It's basically adding a listener. And it could be that this is the reason why, because it probably is firing after. Okay, this is an async issue, I think. When this loads, does this load asynchronously? No, it doesn't. It's one giant bundle, so everything should be available. So when it imports it, I'm wondering, does it not inject into it? Or is it modifying my index HTML in some way by appending something? For example, you don't add it to webpack config, you add it to the web app.js. That's interesting. So when you're adding something to webpack base config, or I mean so a lot of these dependencies I had in there were from Bootstrap Loader. Those are dependencies I think were core for them. It wasn't clear whether or not they were being added to support Bootstrap or Bootstrap Loader, because it was just a list of things that you should add. So let me see if I get rid of all this crap. When you say add jQuery to, although I think what this is doing is injecting modules into it from, I'm going to remove all this stuff and see what happens. I suspect it's bullshit. Is there any, I don't think I'm referring to jQuery anywhere else, for example. But I think I have there's an interesting async initialization issue. See if this still crashes. Oh, it still crashes. That may wonder if it's a completely different error. So here should be here. Oh, I should have committed this so before I starting all these things. Okay, now I've broken something. What did I break? This is web index. Or maybe I just should actually restart it. I'm going to get back to the point where this is working and I do a commit. Downloaded. Oh, sorry. I'm on the wrong screen. Let's see. So I somehow have broken this. I should have committed before fooling around with this. So before, moved it to the web index file. System init. I used to have this here. Then I removed it. I don't think I changed anything here. No, that's where it was just. Didn't change anything there, I think. Did I change something here? Let me undo. I got rid of Bootstrap Loader. That was a wonderful day. I left all this stuff in here. Don't think that... Let's try this running the dev again. I compiled successfully. This is running the development server. And now I am getting this error. Target container is not a DOM element. Which suggests to me what? This is happening in my system init line 60. Allegedly. Rectum render. It should be rendering into, where's the app container? I don't remember this being a function. Some reacting, I forgot it. How did the HTML5? I haven't looked at it at all today. At least I don't think I did. The funny thing is, the weird thing is that. Let me remove. And a web index.js. Let me remove this import again. Am I getting some weird side effect? So I'm expecting this to compile and render without Bootstrap installed. No, I'm still getting the same thing. What's going on with this? I don't think I changed anything. I don't know why my React has gone up a version again. Bootstrap loader, let's CSS loader. Is it doing something to... I removed all that yesterday. These are all new, so I was just trying to get all the stuff to work. So I don't have a clean diff to go off of. Shit. We changed this to use style loader and CS loader. We got rid of post CSS loader. We got rid of, we commented that. Does default include screwing up now? No. That's mysterious. Maybe it's time to eat something. I should have committed this right after that worked. Although now, I don't think I've changed anything. Double check the line number. Let's see. According to this. Sig generator step. System line 56 here. Then 60. Let's go to the original 56. 56 is doing what? Oh, it's doing this async call. It should fire it after. Yeah, it commented out all this stuff. Alright, let's try doing this. Maybe I am hitting async issues. And let's just shove this up here. Of the console? Let's just see if this does anything. Okay, target is. Gun caught error. Target container is not a dominant element. Oh, I wonder if. Is this a React change? No, that makes no sense. It wouldn't. The React version would have changed out from under me. I wish I could see what this was passing. It says mysterious. So I've moved this up here. Log. Callback. Oh wait, no, this is the wait. What is, I forget what this function. I hate arrow functions. Is this actually an error? Expected assignment of so expression. No unused expressions. Well, you can bite me. So this is supposed to be returning. What is this? Was this always like this? I don't think it was. Let me go look at my let's try this. This looks like it's been munged by something. Alright, so if you are React and render, you had to what, wrap this in parentheses? I'm trying to remember how this goes. And then you should just have this. I forget how this works. Oh, the JX6 parser actually understand this. React render can take two arguments, right? One of them is the function is supposed to. Oh, okay, I think it can be a function. Screw you, arrow functions. Oh, what is this? Console log cnet render complete. I don't know. I'm going off the. Oops. This is probably going to complain. Some ESM lure about unexpected unnamed function. Unexpected function expression. I hate these arrow functions sometimes. Let's just see if this does something. This is now I can see explicitly returning something. Maybe. But why did it work once? That's why I'm thinking it's some weird async issue. Target is not a dominant element. Maybe they don't. This is. What's the syntax again for it? It's isn't it just the name of it? This is the normal version of it. I don't remember. Is it compiling? Oh, you actually had to return an actual DOM element? Okay. That is the right. Is it supposed to look like that? Something's missing. Hashtag Rockdown render. Oh, right. I think the stream might be really delayed for Eric. Okay, so that's working now. So it worked once before. Then it got transformed. There is a version of React-DOM render, though, I think, that will take a function, because I wanted it to... Or did it get converted into one? Oh. You know what I think happened? All right, let's undo this. I think I know what happened. I think these lines got transposed. Or, no, that's not it. It would be... No, that couldn't... I don't see how that could have been transposed. There is a callback that you can do for this, I believe. And this is where we would have our arrow function madness. Let's see if that works. I feel good about it. Yeah, okay, that still works. And I am getting my React-DOM render complete message here. This is just for my own tracing. Something I think I think that got mistaken, removed by accident. And I think I have some sort of ESLint auto formatter thing. Like this company I'm working on is moving towards some code standard stuff, so we're trying out all these automatic formatting things. And I think it automatically formatted something into garbage. Maybe while I was streaming before. And since this is a new file, I haven't committed this stuff yet. Oh God. Yeah. TypeScript. I hate JavaScript with a passion for its untypedness. But either I switch to Parcel and hope the TypeScript stuff works right away, or I try to figure out how to put TypeScript into Webpack, which is going to take less time. What do you think? Because the more I deal with this Webpack, so it's Webpack. You know what this is? Webpack is not only is Webpack like mediocre pizza. Webpack is like you've hit level 50, you've hit level max in an MMORPG, and the only thing else to do is to grind for gear you need to. No, it's even worse than that. It's you are grinding to attune so you can do the raids to get the good gear, but you can't attune unless you grind to get the gear that lets you do the intermediate things. So in that case, like if I want TypeScript, gotta grind for it. It's not gonna be fun. But they can't just give it to you, because then that wouldn't, I don't know, then maybe you couldn't bill those hours. I can't even bill for these hours. This is like ridiculous. I would feel bad about billing for this. For new files, you can use the TS and TSX extensions. Would it automatically just work? He said hopefully and stupidly. It'll just work, right? Oh, with Parcel it would. Yeah. See, that makes sense, doesn't it? I think Brunch was somewhat similar to that. Like, it became between Brunch and Parcel. I think Brunch was more popular, so I looked at Brunch instead. Yeah, we don't want to do that, do we? We don't want to add new plugins for Webpack. Why would you do that? I mean, it sort of makes sense, but why introduce more configuration? And like, okay, configuration makes, I like configuration when configuration makes sense, but Webpack uses configuration to monkey patch around their own ill-defined workflow. And then they have configuration on top of configuration, which is terrible. And because of that, and because the plugin architecture is required to make Webpack do useful things, you end up polluting the entire space with other people's slightly different but somewhat compatible modules, so long as the Webpack version doesn't change or some other dependency in the chain doesn't change. Ugh. Or something like that. What does it make? That makes Webpack like Webpack is like going to the DMV. Hmm. It might be worth spending like an hour or two looking at Parcel. Like once I get this part all working, it would be interesting to see how if I can just quickly replace this with Parcel and see. Because I'm running everything through npm scripts anyway. And I don't think I'll like lose any sleep if I don't use this. On the other hand, like I feel I've learned valuable things about Webpack. So I've learned enough about Webpack so I can at least bust its balls. You know, people are gonna get angry at me, you know, but I don't know. I've earned the right to despise Webpack. That's the greatest achievement I've made in the past 5 weeks with this. Although thanks to you, Eric, for helping me debug this stuff. Just kind of like breaking me out of my shell here. No pun intended. It's almost 5 o'clock. I forgot what I was doing. Oh, that's that weird. I not wish I knew what had happened with my system init file. Why that screwed up. I mean, that looks correct. I'm wondering if I should use the other get element by ID instead. I think the reason why I was using query selector is because I actually kind of like seeing the hash marks in the code, because that is one less translation step. Oh wait, no, it's not. I'm thinking jQuery. No, we're gonna go check change selector. Blah, 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 get element by is it ID? Noink. Let's see if that still works. I am on the East Coast. Where are you? Apparently Bootstrap requires jQuery. Is this true? I'm using React though. If I'm using React, why is it not loading all the necessary CSS? Oh, Montreal, nice. Do you have any opinions about Poutine? Oh, did I just cause something bad to happen? Now I'm getting what? Montreal, unexpected token, expected comma. What do you mean you expected a comma? Why does this keep... Oh wait, I'm looking at the wrong place. Poutine is awesome. What makes a good poutine? For people who don't know what poutine is, well, let's look it up. Poutine is, as I understand, French fries with gravy and cheese all over it. And I have never had it. I've never had a good one. At least I'm not sure. This is one of those things like maybe this is relatable. Like if you've never had good Chinese food before, and you go to a restaurant here in the States and have General Tso's chicken and you like it, and you want to say you like Chinese food, but you're not sure it's Chinese, which it's not. Not really. I'm kind of like that with poutine. Or I think I might be pronouncing it poutine. Is it putain? Yeah, Frederick asks, poutine? Is it in or en? If it's French, I guess it would be putain, right? I don't know. I forget my French. I don't know. I would love someone to send me. This site's from Canada, so maybe this is a good picture of it. Uh, oh, 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 put. No, yeah, we're talking about food. There's 8 iconic Canadian foods. What? All right. You mean president for life, don't you? Show me the food. What is this? I have never heard of this. Butter tarts. I have never heard of that either. Smoked salmon? I have heard of that. Oh, what's that? That looks Montreal smoked meat. What's Montreal smoked meat? Alberta beef? What's a good? Crawfish? Lobster? I could do without lobster. Maple syrup? We have maple syrup here in New Hampshire. Poutine. Okay. All right. I feel I have been informed in a way that was more useful than all this Webpack stuff I'm doing. I now know there is something called Montreal beef, and I have never heard of this. I'm not that. How far am I away from Montreal? Maps, Google.com. I think we're now clearly in the goofing off portion of the stream, which has gone over for an extra hour. So here I am in lovely Nashua, New Hampshire. And where is Montreal? Oh, it's right over here. So it's I actually have to go to Vermont to do an entry thing. If I went to Montreal and came back in, I could do my global entry that way. Huh. How long is this? This is about, if I'm here, it's about, I'm guessing it's like a 4 or 5 hour drive? Something like that? Or can I get a flight from Manchester, New Hampshire, or MHT? What's the airport code? Montreal. Cheap flights, $240. Someone have a cheap direct flight? I've been looking for like places, rarely close direct flights. So if I book something, let's say in February, not over the weekend though. So if Tuesday, what kind of prices are we looking at? Still about $300. One stop. Or no stops, rather. I guess there are no non-stop flights. We're looking at about, where is the stop, though? I don't know. I would have to eat a lot of food to make that worthwhile. And I would have to lose a lot of weight to make that worthwhile. If I flew out of Boston, it would add an hour to my trip and the annoyance of going to Boston. But I imagine there must be direct flights that are cheaper. No, there aren't. No, there's 8 non-stop flights, though. And I guess if I Ubered from Boston, maybe there's a bus. This is still $220. This is like looking at 3 months in advance. I don't know. So far, like the closest trip that I can take to is to Newark, New Jersey. Is the fastest direct flight that gets out of here, and it's close to $100. It's relatively cheap. And so if I wanted a change of pace in a place that had different food, that's probably the cheapest thing I can do. I don't know if taking a bus to Canada sounds like a kind of adventure that I don't want to have. Um, but anyway, okay. So now that this is working again, let us go and reintroduce Bootstrap and see if this still works. And then I did guess I didn't reconnect that, but then let's see if that works. Then I'm committing this thing, and so I can play around with stuff. It works. Thanks for that insight about where to put the import, Eric. I think you'd save me probably days of time, because I never would have thought of that. And you know what? I think Parcel might be at this point worth looking at, because now that I have the rest of the stuff working, it's not a redo of everything. It's a 2-hour trip, go one day, return the next day for a lovely 2-day adventure. Yes, that sounds like a great idea. Yeah. I wonder how. Is it worth going and visiting you in Argentina? I don't even know exactly where that is. That's probably, I'm going to guess, like an 8-hour flight or something like that. What would there be to do in Argentina? Is there like a tech scene or something like that? I don't know. Like, one of my goals was to. Yeah, I got what you meant, Fed, but that's 2 hours away from me. Yeah, I was just kind of idly wondering like places to go, because one of the goals I have is like once I have my stationary business working completely as a turnkey system, um, then that essentially frees me up to go and work from any place. So I could go fly to some place where other people are doing some stuff. We could do a project together. Maybe do some design work. Teach people some stuff, each other some stuff, and then kind of use the virtual co-working room as the anchor for that. Kind of like a traveling, a traveling unconference, I guess. Yeah, I mean, that might be fun, kind of fun. I mean, if I go to here, yeah, we could have projects and stuff. We've had notions of doing that before. I guess I don't need this up anymore. All right, let's commit this thing. Let's see what we've got here. I wonder if I should turn off that prefer arrow functions things. I've already turned off a few rules. Stop making me destructor everything. Don't like it. Some of these things, I probably can clean up my package JSON. Let's try doing that, because I had all that Bootstrap crap in it. Let's see if I can remove some of this other stuff. Web app config. I had all this stuff. Not sure it's necessary. Suspect it isn't. Yeah, because I'm just loading the dist file, right? If I delete this and recompile it, does it still run? Please? Compile. It still runs. All right, let's remove node modules and see if it still runs. There are a lot of things in there. What else can I remove? npm run dev. Oops, no, npm install. It'll take a while. Putin. How do you pronounce Putin? How do you pronounce Putin? A huge metropolis. Buenos Aires City is a huge metropolis. Oh, is that where you are? What is the correct way? In Quebec, where Putin is from, we pronounce it Putin or Putin. If you're French, Putin. Putin? We understand both, but you look silly pronouncing it Putin. Putin. Okay, Putin. I apologize to all French-speaking French people or of French origin. There's a French Stack Exchange? Oh, that's gotta be exciting. The G20 is being hosted in Buenos Aires? Huh. Wow. Does that make it inconvenient for everyone with all the additional security and stuff like that? Mm. Alright, so we have now run. Let's see if this still compiles. No mysterious crap is happening. Probably wasn't necessary, but I basically don't trust Webpack to do anything. Can I transfer like this to parcel? And recompile it because there's a different socket connector. That still works. So maybe we can reduce a vast amount of junk. These, I think, are necessary for me. Let's see. I don't know if I need any of this stuff yet. No, I do need these separate changes. Are there any... Let's look at the base. Alright, I need to look at package.json. It sounds too good to be true, Eric. I can just install it via npm and run it, and it will just work with everything I have. How does it do this magic? Alright, so what do I do not need here? Let's go through this one way. I have no idea why HEV is what is or why it's installed. Someone made me do it. Bootstrap. Do I need to have that installed? Yes, because I need the npm, the node models. Cookie parser, copy whatever, Electron Express, IP, jQuery, Mini Express. I wonder if I should go to a multi-package JSON structure. Boot router, React Strap, Bootstrap. Why isn't React Strap loading though? Maybe you don't even need to have Bootstrap installed, but I need to import some React Strap module. Huh. That would be interesting. No, it will? That's crazy. Why aren't people using this? What's wrong with it? What's the big downside? Polyfill preset env, acorn, acer, electron packager, pleaslint, post css loader. I don't even know what that is, but I'll keep that in here for now. Prettier resolve URL loader. I think that's something they made me add. Does it hurt to have these in here? Oh, bootstrap loader, you are going away. Goodbye, you piece of junk. Do I need the Sass loader, the style loader, or what is URL loader? I think it made me add these. I don't recall using imports loader. Sass loader, I'm not using Sass. Let's take a look at this. 28,000 stars. Well, let's take a look at this. Oops. Alright, 28,000 stars. Blazing fast, zero configuration. So with Aaron or npm. I do like speed. And just looking at this before. I am curious though. Oops. Oh. Wrong place. This is what I was using before. It has a mere 6.5 stars. Now why did I choose this over everything else? I think I liked its docs better. That must have been what it was. Oh god. Yeah, let's have some config. All right. Parcels on my list of things to look at. I don't know if there's like stars I can give you, Eric, or something like that, to as a reward for your timely intervention here before absolutely committing 100%. Let's try this RM thing again. I've cleaned up my package JSON somewhat. I don't know if I need some of these things. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, is this the no, because I can't find let's try this. Is it? Is that new? I don't smoke anything. I don't like my brain to be influenced by external things. I don't even like taking aspirin. Coffee doesn't count because I don't think it does anything to me. It just tastes good. Yeah. So you're a developer of some stripe, I imagine, Eric. Are you in the chat room? Am I just not recognizing your name? Compile, 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 compile. You know what? My mood is. Oops. Oh, I guess you should npm run dev. My mood does improve noticeably when things work. Full stack dev, nice. What kind of development work? Like apps or what does it mean to be a full stack dev? Me, I thought I knew what it meant, but I'm not sure. I'm kind of a dev by accident. I used to work in the video game industry and largely did interactive design stuff. That still works. That's good. Yeah, I hope something's working for you today, Fed. What did you say about the G20? Travel's kind of restricted. Lots of public transport options are available for the weekend. Java frontend. Wow. Okay. That's cool. Or Java web app. Do you work in a big team, or are you working one thing I think, one reason why you really like I like how you're really promoting this parcel thing. I mean, you're saying everything that appeals to me. Small team, remote, nice. I think one thing that makes me feel that I'm not like a real developer is that I've never worked in a actual developer team environment as a developer. I've been like a project lead, but or like a main designer that did some dabbling with UI coding and stuff like that. But I have never had to really set up entire systems before until fairly recently when I started doing this in 2014. Before that, I was using things like Flash or using C#, but using something called XNA at the time. We were doing real-time interactives. But really, I'm more in the interactive space. Like, I like to see things move at 60 frames a second. This web stuff is something somewhat new, and it only became interesting to me when they added WebGL, so you could do fast real-time graphics using hardware acceleration. And so I was like, yeah, I could get behind this. This seems less stupid than like a lot of the other things that were going on at the time. But yeah, so now this is an environment that I think is my environment. It's replaced Flash for me as the possible vehicle for doing more interactive design, and maybe I could do web apps and stuff, that are related to my other products. So okay, so that compiles. That's very lovely, but let's make sure. Well, let's commit this before I screw something up. So something bad is happening. Yeah, it's just slow. We've only dropped 12 frames this entire session. That's kind of impressive. I'm not sure I was pretty sure because I had not rebooted the computer from scratch that everything would come crashing down. I'm running a couple of extra video feeds. Let's take a look at what's happening on the PC, for example. The screensaver is running. Oh, that's kind of funny to think that I could use the screensaver as a source. Let's watch the screensaver together. Isn't that nice? Where was I? I was on this screen? Yes. I'm pleased with the current, with my refreshed setup here. Oh, I should actually make sure I save this scene collection before something terrible happens and I lose the whole thing. Let's see, that would be under overlays. You can't see what I'm working on right now, but trust me that good things are happening. Screencasting, creative coworking. Apple needs to improve their screensaver games. Stuff looks like it came out in 2003. Dude, that was my screensaver on the PC. So it is something from out of 2003. Let's have another look at it, why don't we? I feel like we should sing a song, like "Oh Christmas Tree" or "Oh Screensaver." Oh, he means I get that people don't even use screensavers anymore. But it's a matter of principle, Dave. Yeah, what is the Mac screensaver look? Do people make screensavers anymore? There used to be that great fish screensaver. You know, so here we are on the PC. Do I have a split PC Mac screen thing? That might be kind of fun. I do not remember. Oh, I do remember the Doom screensaver. I do remember it. Actually, let's do a test here. Wildstar's gone. I'm sad. Removing this from the list. They sunset the server yesterday, and like afterwards, I was really more upset than I thought I would be. You know, I started crying in the Starbucks because I was missing my character who was dead forever. What am I looking for here? What's this invisible task? That sounds suspicious. Oh wait, I can't even launch this from Steam. Well, the cool thing is I'll be able to like actually stream PC games here on a relatively nice setup. Oh, do you know who used to make a really great screensaver? That was that fish screensaver. It was the same person who did all the artwork for the Amiga Cinemaware games. Do you remember those games at all? Actually, instead of this, I wonder if I have... How come I can never find the Star Citizen launcher? Premium screensavers, yep. That's what we want to see. Where did I put this? Where did I put this? This is a relatively new PC build, so you can't find crap. I could have sworn that I put Windows, Ruggers. Oh, it's probably not there. Probably not here. Program files, it's under here. There should be a shortcut to this. Surprised there isn't one. Oh, here there is a shortcut. I haven't had a chance to look at this yet. Didn't have an Amiga, more of a console kid. Yeah, so there was an Amiga that was in a who had it? I had an Apple II GS at the time, but so some of the Amiga software, like it was like the company that made the Cinemaware. If I switch to this screen here, I should probably finish committing this first, but let me look at this. Cinemaware. In the meantime, this is going on over there. Oops. Misclick. Yeah, these used to be the state of the art for computer graphics in the day. because they use 32 colors out of 144,000 possible choices. But the artist for this made that fish screensaver. Who's the guy? Artist for... I think it was this guy. What was his name? James D. Sachs. That's the dude. This is going back to like 90s, 80s, 90s stuff. I wonder what work he's working on now, but he did that fish screensaver. I wonder, the aquarium one? I wonder if he's still making it. This one. Marine aquarium? You remember this? This was all the rage. Everyone had this screensaver. Serene screen, I believe this was what it was. You could still buy it. Yeah, dude, right? You remember this? Learn about the artist. I think this is the same guy. Oh, you can have it on your home screen on your phone? What? Oh, that's the dude. That's Jim Sachs. Yeah. He's born in California in 1949. Started with Commodore 64s and wrote his own stuff. I forget. I didn't know he was a coder. Famous. I am so happy that they still make this. Serene Marine Aquarium, a realistic high-definition screensaver. 27 different exotic fish species. 20 million downloads and regular appearances in movies on television. This is the best screensaver. I mean, I should just... I feel I should have it just because... Oh, this last was updated in 2016. Is last update on the Mac for 2015. Yeah. iOS app, when? Well, the cat just came down. Or one of the cats. October 14. This has really been ported, really? Does it actually have moving fish on the phone, though? Oh. Really? 3.8 reviews. They move! They move! Wow. Well, I could get it on my iPad. I might have to get this for my sister for Christmas. Prolific Publishing. They have their... It looks like they branched out and made their own. Why is this not opening the Apple Store? Oh well. Anyway, let's finish packing this stuff up and then we can all go home. Alright, so we have a new package JSON. We have removed junk. Seems... Oh, do you know what maybe... Okay, that's probably how I got the replacement one. Just by reloading everything. I've changed all the versions for things. It's shocking, like... I didn't do this that long ago, and everything is different. That's new. That's good. That's good. That works. That works. Those are gone. We don't want this. Death to Bootstrap RC. I never want to see you again. Ever. Goodbye, sir. And we've changed our base config. Yes. I think that's all right. What am I going to call this commit? Commit styles are interesting to me. We're going to call this Bootstrap added Add it to web app. All right, so now that that's there, what did I want to do? I wanted to look up to see if, how do you import the CSS for React This is one of those things that doesn't have particularly good. Oh. Oh wait, you do need to install Bootstrap. Okay, I do need to have that. And then you just do this. If I'd read this first, then I would have saved a bunch of time. So they're trying to do it the Webpack way, or soon to be Parcel. So now, yeah, it's just exactly that. Eric Patrick. Oh, I forgot this was on GitLab. Or something I had something on GitLab. So now let's see if the Electron stuff still compiles. It might not. Alright, so here's the Electron window. So now this should be running the server from here. Yes! It still works! But will it package? Okay, I had to add some debug statements here to make sure that my paths were loading. Like, I have this really weird like directory structure because of all the relative includes and stuff. Because I'm running the same code base. I have a Webpack dev server, and also for my own custom Express server. Okay, now it's building the package. I probably need to include Bootstrap in that second package JSON. Because I actually have in my console app source, I have a console package. And I think this probably needs Bootstrap. No, probably not, because actually I don't know if I need a lot of these. Now if it's running for the source, it does. Or does it? So now I'm not sure, like if these may not be necessary dependencies for just running what's in the app console. What does it really need to do? No, I'm using the dev middleware, so I do need that. Do that, I think. We'll look at that some other time. So okay, it's package an app, and run a new app to whatchamacallit. Let's see. This should no longer be functioning. Good. That's not what I wanted. Oops, that's not what I wanted either. That's what I wanted. Let's fix all these things. So over here, what do I want? I want my dev meme boilerplate dist. And this is the Mac app that allegedly built. It's probably gonna running it now. So this is the standalone app running in Electron. It's not using the BitDev system. And it hopefully is serving the web app. And it does. So this bundle now I can package as a standalone app and send it to people, so they don't actually have to use the entire development environment. So it all theoretically works. I do need to figure out how signing works, though. And then also, this menu has nothing in it. Or something. I'm not sure what's going on. Clearly I broke something else. But I am feeling relatively good about this. Yeah, so let me update this, and then I'm done for the day. So Webpack Reload CSS. Much simpler. Death to Bootstrap Loader. This is where also look into parcel. Oops, I forgot to add these exclamation points. Also, I'm going to write down your name so I know who to thank for this. Or blame if it doesn't work out. So, alright. Said so. So, on the stream. Alright, so let's see. The key insight, load, import non, what do I call these? Import non-JS assets in the entry points. It doesn't seem to work when importing in other modules. Also, I wish I knew what would happen with the system init thing, because it was working at some point. It was drawing stuff, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just like bumbling out some JSX and not actually firing on that event. That's strange. I must have like accidentally screwed it up by pasting into it or something. But now that I have this committed, I can now make mistakes and see where I made them. And before I close this all off, success. Thanks to, I will give you all the credit you are due. Sitting me through debug session. Alright, I'll see you later, Fed. I'll see you online. Play some games. I am going to play this one. So, I didn't realize I had Arena Commander work. Oh, they did have Arena. I think they have the new Persistent Universe running now. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, I'll do a stream playing with it and try to figure out how it works. And we can try doing stuff. Okay, so now it's like, I think my stream setup is pretty solid shape. Like I had not been able to get the PC to stream cleanly until I had these external speakers to pick up sound on. Because running the sound through the stream setup caused all these sync delays. Slowly get out of sync. But I can just use these external microphones now. Just tap directly into the PC through this board. In fact, why aren't I doing that? I should be able to do that. I can use my other switcher. That would be great. So let's go to my timesheet. Let me close this. Now is the time we close everything. Let's close this. And let's go here to my timesheet. And here on my timesheet, which is here. Today was Thursday. I started really late. It started around 1500, and now it is 1700, 1730 actually. How many hours is that? Only 2.5 hours. It feels like all day. But I would say that most of that wasn't billable. I would say 30 minutes of it was billable. Try to get Bootstrap working. Oh, again, with Webpack. Billable portion of that, I'm going to say it was about 30 minutes. So let's call it 45 minutes. So I'll bill for that. Soon we'll get to the part where I actually can be working on the system level stuff. So I don't know. It's 5 o'clock now. I need to switch over to do working on marketing stuff. But I'm gonna take a break, eat some dinner. Maybe I'll go to Starbucks or something like that. So anyway, thanks for sitting around with me. Thanks to Fred and thanks to Eric for stopping by and keeping me company. Hope you had a good day. And I'll continue the streaming experiment tomorrow, hopefully at the planned 11 a.m. instead of 3 p.m. Assuming I go to sleep early enough. That's always a problem. Just getting sleepy. So thanks for watching, and I'll hopefully see you tomorrow.